So study group time. So we are almost done. I want to say we might be finished with this today because yeah, I think we're going to finish with the book today. So we are studying or working on Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. For those of you who have not been following along, this book is about past lives. And this doctor, a physician, he actually, I feel, ushered in the reincarnation movement in the U.S., even though there were other, stories before Brian Weiss's book. But I feel like his has become his has made it mainstream in the U.S. But the story is about he being a doctor, a physician, psychotherapist, and he basically he unexpectedly put his client into a past life regression, and then after that all these things started to come up during her regression. I've had a few past life regressions and just regressions, and they're pretty interesting. I would highly recommend for y'all to check it out or to go and have one done. But he's sharing the story of what was discovered, and in the process of him doing these regressions with his client, at some point she would end up in this space on the other side that was kind of like the resting space or the waiting space, and then all of a sudden a master would come through her as she was in hypnosis, a master, a spirit, and they would impart wisdom upon him and give him all kinds of awareness and knowledge. So it's pretty cool. But I'm going to go ahead and start reading. For those of you who are following along, if you want to ask a question about the past life regressions and about the book, etc., go ahead, and I'm going to take a look at some of your questions before I get off here. I'm not doing readings, y'all, so if you're on here asking for a reading or you're wanting me to connect with a loved one in spirit, that's done. That was last hour. I won't be doing that until the next time I'm on my live. Okay? All right, so we are on chapter, for those of you following along, we are on chapter 16. So that's where I'm going to pick up from, okay? All right, so almost 4 years have passed since Catherine and I shared this incredible experience. It has changed us both profoundly. On occasion, she drops into my office to say hello or to discuss a problem that she is having. She has never had the need nor the desire to be regressed again, either to deal with a symptom or to find out how new people in her life may have related to her in the past. Our work is done. Catherine is now free to fully enjoy her life, no longer crippled by her disabling symptoms. She has found a sense of happiness and contentment that she never thought was possible. She no longer fears illness or death. Life has a meaning and purpose for her now, and she is balanced and in harmony with herself. She radiates an inner peace that many wish for, but few attain. She feels more spiritual. To Catherine, what has happened is all very real. She does not doubt the veracity of any of it, and she accepts it all as an integral part of who she is. She has no interest in pursuing the study of psychic phenomena, feeling that she knows in a way that cannot be learned from books or lectures. People who are dying or who have a family member dying often seek her out. They seem drawn to her. She sits and talks to them and they feel better. My life has changed almost as drastically as Catherine's. I have become more intuitive, more aware of the hidden secret parts of my patients, colleagues, and friends. I seem to know a great deal about them, even before I should. My values and life goals have shifted to a more humanistic, less accumulative focus. Psychics, mediums, healers, and others appear in my life with increasing frequency, and I have started to systematically evaluate their abilities. Carol has developed along with me. Carol's his wife. She has become particularly skillful in death and dying counseling, and she now runs support groups for patients dying from AIDS. I have begun to meditate, something that until recently I thought only Hindus and Californians practiced. The lessons transmitted through Catherine have become a conscious part of my daily life, remembering the deeper meaning of life and of death as a natural part of life. I have become more patient, more empathic, more loving. I also feel more responsible for my actions, the negative as well as the lofty. I know there will be a price to pay. What goes around truly does come around. I still write scientific papers, lecture at professional meetings, and run the Department of Psychiatry. But now I straddle two worlds, the phenomenal world of the five senses, represented by our bodies and physical needs, and the greater world of the non-physical planes, represented by our souls and spirits. I know that the worlds are connected, that all is energy, yet they often seem so far apart. My job is to connect the worlds, to carefully and scientifically document their unity. My family has flourished. Carol and Amy have turned out to have above average psychic abilities, and we playfully encourage the further development of these skills. Jordan has become a powerful and charismatic teenager, a natural leader. I am finally becoming less serious, and I sometimes have unusual dreams. During the several months after Catherine's last session, a peculiar tendency had begun to appear during my sleep. I would sometimes have a vivid dream during which I would either be listening to a lecture or asking questions of the lecturer. The teacher's name in the dream was Philo. Upon awakening, I would sometimes remember some of the material discussed and jot it down. I am including a few examples here. The first was a lecture, and I recognized the influence of the messages from the masters. Wisdom is achieved very slowly. This is because intellectual knowledge easily acquired must be transformed into emotional or subconscious knowledge. Once transformed, the imprint is permanent. Behavioral practice is the necessary catalyst of this reaction. Without action, the concept will wither and fade. Theoretical knowledge without practical application is not enough. It's interesting that he's mentioning this because what he's saying is, he had a dream, and in the dream, this great teacher, Philo, basically taught him some things or told him some things. And this is something that I've talked to Michelle about as well, because whenever we've done our Course in Miracles study group, one thing that I've learned over many years of experience is that my spiritual knowledge and wisdom is pretty much cemented in my being because I have had experiences that validate that information. So even though, I may read something in a book or a concept or a teaching, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to grasp it or I'm going to fully understand that information. I think it's important that we experience it because you can't just know something intellectually, you have to experience it. That's why we're all here in physical form, because we're all here to live human lives, to experience certain things that we only understand in an intellectual way on the other side or in spirit form. So this is why I tell Michelle, there is a lot of people out there who are teachers or who are spiritual teachers, and they are very good at regurgitating what they read. They're very good at telling you something spiritual, but they don't have a lot of experience to pull from. And so they usually will only give you the information or the knowledge, or they will give you the spiritual teaching, but they're not going to tell you about their own experience because they don't have an experience to be able to use to help them to understand that. You can only understand something if you go through it. You can't just know it by hearing about it. You have to experience it by going through it. So that's what that's about. Balance and harmony are neglected today, yet they are the foundations of wisdom. Everything is done in excess. People are overweight because they eat excessively. Joggers neglect aspects of themselves and others because they run excessively. People seem excessively mean. They drink too much, smoke too much, carouse too much, or too little. Talk too much without content, worry too much. This is too much black or white thinking, all or none. This is not the way of nature. In nature, there is balance. Beasts destroy in small amounts. Ecological systems are not eliminated in mass. Plants are consumed and then grow. The sources of sustenance are dipped into and then replenished. The flower is enjoyed, the fruit is eaten, the root preserved. Humankind has not learned about balance, let alone practiced it. It is guided by greed and ambition, steered by fear. In this way, it will eventually destroy itself. But nature will survive, at least the plants will. Happiness is really rooted in simplicity. The tendency to excessiveness in thought and action diminishes happiness. Excesses cloud basic values. Religious people tell us that happiness comes from filling one's heart with love, from faith, and hope, from practicing charity and dispensing kindness. They actually are right. Given those attitudes, balance and harmony usually follow. These are collectively a state of being. In these days, they are an altered state of consciousness. It is as if humankind were not in its natural state while on earth. It must reach an altered state in order to fill itself with love and charity and simplicity, to feel purity, to rid itself of its chronic fearfulness. How does one reach this altered state? This other value system. And once reached, how can it be sustained? The answer appears to be simple. It is the common denominator of all religions. Humankind is immortal, and what we are doing now is learning our lessons. We are all in school. It is so simple if you can believe in immortality. If a part of humankind is eternal, and there is much evidence and history to think so, then why are we doing such bad things to ourselves? Why do we step on and over others for our personal gain, when actually we're flunking the lesson? We all seem to be going to the same place ultimately, albeit at different speeds. No one is greater than another. Consider the lessons. Intellectually, the answers have always been there, but this need to actualize by experience, to make the subconscious imprint permanent by emotionalizing and practicing the concept is the key. Memorizing in Sunday school is not good enough. Lip service without the behavior has no value. It is easy to read about or to talk about love and charity and faith, but to do it, to feel it, almost requires an altered state of consciousness. Not the transient state induced by drugs, alcohol, or unexpected emotion. The permanent state is reached by knowledge and understanding. It is sustained by physical behavior, by act and deed, by practice. It is taking something nearly mystical and transforming it to everyday familiarity by practice, making it a habit. Understand that no one is greater than another. Feel it. Practice helping another. We are all rowing the same boat. If we don't pull together, our plants are going to be awfully lonely. On another night, in a different dream, I was asking a question. How is it that you say all are equal, yet the obvious contradictions smack us in the face? Inequalities in virtues, temperances, finances, rights, abilities, and talents, intelligence, mathematical aptitude, ad infinitum. The answer was a metaphor. It is as if a large diamond were to be found inside each person. Picture a diamond a foot long. The diamond has 1,000 facets, but the facets are covered with dirt and tar. It is the job of the soul to clean each facet until the surface is brilliant and can reflect a rainbow of colors. Now some have cleaned many facets and gleam brightly, others only manage to clean a few. They do not sparkle so. Yet underneath the dirt, each person possesses within his or her breast a brilliant diamond with 1,000 gleaming facets. The diamond is perfect, not one flaw. The only differences among people are the number of facets cleaned, but each diamond is the same, and each is perfect. When all the facets are cleaned and shining forth in a spectrum of lights, the diamond returns to the pure energy that it was originally. The lights remain. It is as if the process that goes into making the diamond is reversed. All that pressure released. The pure energy exists in the rainbow of lights, and the lights possess consciousness and knowledge. And all of the diamonds are perfect. Sometimes the questions are complicated and the answers simple. What am I to do? I was asking in a dream. I know I can treat and heal people in pain. They come to me in numbers beyond what I can handle. I am so tired. Yet can I say no when they are so needy and I can help them? Is it right to say no enough already? Your role is not to be a lifeguard, was the answer. The last example I will cite was a message to other psychiatrists. I awakened about 6 in the morning from a dream where I was giving a lecture, in this instance to a vast audience of psychiatrists. In the rush toward the medicalization of psychiatry, it is important that we do not abandon the traditional, albeit sometimes vague, teachings of our profession. We are the ones who still talk to our patients patiently and with compassion. We still take the time to do this. We promote the conceptual understanding of illness, healing with understanding, and the induced discovery of self-knowledge, rather than just with laser beams. We still use hope to heal. In this day and age, our branches of medicine are finding these traditional approaches to healing much more inefficient, time-consuming, and unsubstantiated. They prefer technology to talk, computer-generated blood chemistries to the personal physician-patient chemistry, which heals the patient and provides satisfaction to the doctor. Idealistic, ethical, personally gratifying approaches to medicine lose ground to economic, efficient, insulating, and satisfaction-destroying approaches. As a result, our colleagues feel increasingly isolated and depressed. The patients feel rushed and empty, uncared for. We should avoid being seduced by high technology. Rather, we should be the role models for our colleagues. We should demonstrate how patience, understanding, and compassion help both patient and physician. Taking more time to talk, to teach, to awaken hope and the expectation of recovery. These half-forgotten qualities of the physician as healer, these we must always use ourselves and be an example to our fellow physicians. High technology is wonderful in research and to promote the understanding of human illness and disease. It can be an invaluable clinical tool, but it can never replace those inherently personal characteristics and methods of the true physician. Psychiatry can be the most dignified of the medical specialities. We are the teachers. We should not abandon this role for the sake of assimilation, especially now. I still have such dreams, although only occasionally, often in meditation or sometimes while driving on the highway or even while daydreaming. Phrases and thoughts and visualizations will pop into my mind. These often seem very different from my conscious and usual way of thinking or conceptualizing. They are frequently very timely and solve questions or problems I am having. I use them in therapy and in my everyday life. I consider this phenomena to be an expansion of my intuitive abilities, and I am heartened by them. To me, they are signs that I am headed in the right direction, even if I have a long way to go. I listen to my dreams and intuitions. When I do, things seem to fall into place. When I do not, something invariably goes awry. I still feel the masters around me. I do not know for sure whether my dreams and intuitions are influenced by them, but I suspect so. So, and then that's it. And then there's the epilogue. But, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, that's it. That's the end of the book. So, first of all, it's interesting that he talked about, like, when he has things that come into his head, because it's literally the same thing that I have experienced myself when I would go on my walks, or like if I have a question and I'm like trying to figure something out, but I haven't been able to figure it out. Sometimes when I go on my walks, all of a sudden it's like I get downloaded with the answer, and the answer comes in like bits and pieces. It can come in like a concept, an idea, in a visual, and sometimes it's like three-dimensional. But it's really cool. But that tends to be the case. And so that happens a lot of times whenever I go on my walks and I'm like taking that, going on the path. And like, because for me, my walks, especially when I do my walks alone, they're very meditative and they allow me to connect with my higher self. And so I really enjoy the walks for that reason as well. Right now, I'm not really working as much just because I'm not really walking as much just because we're on lockdown in New Mexico, and I want to set an example, so I'm not doing walkings, but I'm doing yoga in the morning, so that's what I've started to do instead to compensate for the walks, but I'm going to have to meditate, because for me, my walks were my meditation. So, all right, so there's some questions here for y'all that y'all have. Mars Rodriguez has a question. It says, like, is it possible to reincarnate into the same life over again, like same kids, same husband, therefore having deja vu? No. So this is going to be a little complicated to explain. In order for God to exist, this is just God as the all of it. In order for God or for creation to exist, every single experience or potential that can be expressed or experienced is expressed or experienced. Your life, with all of the variables, all of the details, that pattern, that recipe, it is always going to exist. In other words, when you're done with your life experiencing the different components and the pieces that you've experienced, there will be some other soul who will also be taking up or utilizing that life experience, but not at the same time as yours and not in the same place. It's not going to have all of the same exact things, but there will be another soul that uses your life, because it's almost like a play. When you think of the kids in the play, like when they're like, okay, hey, you're going to be Juliet, you're going to be Romeo. After that year, somebody else will come along and play that Juliet and the Romeo. So the parts are played, the roles are played. Some of the experiences are repeated because they have to exist in order for God to exist, because God is the summation of all things. Source is the summation of all things. In order for Source to exist as the summation of all things, Source must experience all things all the time, never deviating from that. So we're almost like, we're just in this never-ending, rotation where someone will always play that role or play that part in the grander scheme of things, because that's how the universe, that's how Source can exist, as long as that is experienced and expressed in some way. But as far as your exact husband, your exact kids, your exact whatever is not going to be repeated, because that is unique to you and your soul owns the rights to that. So that's the way that is. The deja vu is not you remembering having done something before. The deja vu is you remembering having planned out the details of parts of your life and remembering doing that and then actually living it. That's what deja vu is. So when you have deja vu, it isn't, oh my God, I've done this before. When you have deja vu, it's like, oh, I remember writing this on the paper of what I wanted to experience here. It's just remembering the things that you wanted to experience and then you actually experiencing it. That's what deja vu is. Let's see. Okay, so these are all readings, which I'm not doing right now. And then let me go over here. See if anybody asked a question about reincarnation, because that's all I'm answering. Yeah, I'm thinking about the next book. The next book I'm thinking that I'm going to be reading. I wanted to do another smaller book because the Course in Miracles is such a huge book that's going to probably take like a year to get through. And I don't want to pick another long book because then I'll never be able to change it up. But I really want to do Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch, because it's a great, great book. And I think it's like super, super informative and enlightening. And it was one of my favorites growing up. So I want to do that one, but it is a long book as well. So it might take a while to get through. But I kind of keep wanting, I keep wanting to like, I want to teach all of y'all everything that I know. So I'm like, the only way to teach y'all is to like read the books to y'all, right? To read it to y'all so y'all can follow along with me. But the problem is, if I read another longer book, it's going to take a while before I'm able to change it up again. So that's what that's about. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Okay, going through this. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions regarding past lives and all of that other stuff. So I think that's it. So that's it. We are done with Many Lives, Many Masters. So I will figure out what we're going to read next. I have to figure that out. Okay. If y'all have recommendations, feel free to, share those, or you can put those in like the comment section. Even after the video is like done, you can put it in the comment section of the main one. So what it says. Mariana Sophie, when I have deja vu is like I feel like I dreamt about it already. Could that be it? That's the same thing. That's exactly the same. The reason why it feels like you dreamt about it already is because in that state, we lose our memory. We like forget all of the stuff about being there. And so when we come here, we pretty much have what I call spiritual amnesia. So we don't know who we are or what we really are. And so being in the body, we're actually re-taught to be someone new. That's why we are, that's why we're not just born into full human, like adult bodies. That's where we have to start off from the childhood. Because as a child, you have to start, you're not given prior awareness and understanding. You have to learn and apply meaning to things. And we're actually taught to be someone new. And once we are brainwashed, human brainwashed into being this new person, we live our life as this new person. So for me, Ferny, I was brainwashed into being Ferny in this lifetime by the circumstances of my childhood. So that taught me to be this person. But this person is not who I truly am behind the curtain. I'm a much grander version of myself, which is who Aja is. So when y'all see me channeling Aja, that's who I am. I'm Aja, but that's the grander version of me. I'm only able to, unfortunately, kind of like exist as Ferny in this level because that's what it's about. Lovely dolls and toys. Can sometimes, for example, my son be my father and next life his soul? Yes. So we change it up sometimes. I have several lifetimes, and one of the lifetimes, my cousin was my husband, my husband who would beat me, and I was the wife. And that was in one lifetime. In another lifetime, my grandfather was my teacher, not my relative. And he taught me everything that I needed to learn in that lifetime. In another lifetime, I was... in another lifetime, my sister was like a royal that lived in one of this like, place that people who were royal lives, the royals who live in, and she had a crush on me, and I was not interested because in that lifetime I was also gay as well. This is interesting. This is not my first time being gay, but yeah, so in that lifetime I was also gay as well. So that was a different lifetime as well. Escar, Journeys Out of the Body is an interesting book. Could that be one you may read? Yeah, Journeys Out of the Body is pretty cool. I think that one's by Robert Monroe, isn't it? I think that one's by Robert Monroe. I know there's another one about with somebody else, William. I think it's William. The other guy's William. But yeah, that might be an interesting book. I might consider that one. Linda's like, do spirit have the choice of when it's time to return to the womb? Yes, we choose our lives. So we're not forced to have to come back here to live our lives. We actually choose everything. Like we choose a bulk of the stuff that we experience. That includes the positive and the negative. People have a hard time believing that, but it's true. I mean, it's almost like if someone wants to be, go to the Olympics or get a medal in the Olympics, they know that they're choosing a really, really challenging period of training to get to that point. And what we're doing is we want to achieve certain levels for our soul and for our understanding. And we want to feel that connection with God, because the more we know, the more we are, the closer to God we become. And that's that level of love that we're like obsessed with. But yeah, we can choose. We do. All of us choose when it's time to come back and be reborn. May we look similar in our next life? Sometimes, not as often, because some of us really change it up, and sometimes we come in different sexes, as different races. So, but every now and then, some people will come in with maybe some similar appearances. A lot of people don't realize this, but if you have a very prominent birthmark, like if you have like a dark mark somewhere on your body, and it's a birthmark, usually those birthmarks are signs of where you were hurt or where you had a wound in a prior lifetime. So that's where some of those birthmarks are at. The Akasha. It depends on the Akasha that you're referring to, because right now, mainstream, everybody believes that the Akasha, the Akashic Records is like this storehouse of knowledge and wisdom and information. It's like God's memory. And that's what I think of as well. I think of the Akasha as well. But talking to Aja has told me that the Akasha actually was it originally existed as a storehouse of documents and books and scrolls. There was an actual storehouse that existed somewhere in Greece. And it was either, I think it was called the Acta. I think there was I did a post about it as well. I think it was called the Acta because I don't remember, but Aj is the one that said it. But it was by a people called the Acta, or the name of the original Akasha was the Acta. But it was just this like space. It wasn't like, you know, the wisdom of everything. But over time, it became this myth. And now when people think of like God's memory, they think of the Akashic records. But for different people and for different followings and belief systems, the Akashic records mean different things. But when I think of the Akasha, that's what I think of. Okay, let me look over here, see if there's anything over here. By the way, guys, the Matthew James in the YouTube and Facebook, that person is a troll. They are going to take your money. So please be careful. If you guys get messaged by anyone asking you to inbox them, there's also like asking you to inbox them, that is a troll. They are going to take your money. So you need to report them as spam and then block them. All right, I think that's it, guys. I think I am done. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm done. I'm just trying to see if I see any new question. Yep, that's it. I'm done. All right, guys. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow on the podcast live. So for those of you who want to like get in on the conversation, and we can even talk about reincarnation because I'd like to talk about it tomorrow. We're going to do live. And if y'all want to be a guest or ask me a question, you don't have to necessarily come on video. I think you can come on audio as well. But we'll be on here live tomorrow. So, all right, guys. I love you all. And good night. Hey, good night, Reyes. Hello. Hello, Linda. All right, guys.